And now, an Envision Financial podcast with Luke Smith on Canberra's 2CC.
Everything old is new again, Luke.
It is.
How are you? Nice to see you.
You too, mate. Great to have you.
A bit cold this morning, -7, -8.
Little fresh,
But
it's becoming a bit of a theme, isn't it?
Yeah, that's okay. We had the coldest morning in 60 years in Canberra a couple of days ago.
Oh, there we
so
go.
there it goes, down almost to double figures negative. So.
And this weather's actually lovely.
It's beautiful.
Without the wind.
That's right.
No wind, very doable. With wind,
Forget it. You don't want it about it.
Shut the gate.
You're telling me you can actually start a pension?
Yes. Today we're going to talk about how to start a pension and I guess demystify some of the rules and regs, because I've heard some wonderful stories in the last 2 weeks leading into the new financial year as to I can start one, I can't start one. So today we're just going to touch on, well, what makes you eligible? Why would you do it? And then how do you logistically do it so that we can sort of just demystify the rules and regs and the mechanics of starting it. So if we start at the beginning and say, what makes me eligible for a pension?
Sure.
So you must reach your Commonwealth preservation age, which is 60.
Sounds like something in a formaldehyde jar. Your
Exactly.
Preservation age.
Crack the lid off something, see if it doesn't smell too bad,
Okay.
and then say, okay, have I ceased gainful employment? So you've got to quit to start an account-based pension. So am I over 60? Tick. Have I ceased a form of gainful employment? Now, big point of confusion here. People say, well, if I quit and I start a pension, I can never go back to work. Not the case at all.
Oh, okay.
So we need to separate. The definition of retirement before the age of 60 says, I've ceased gainful employment and I do not intend to work more than 10 hours. Over the age of 60, it says, have I ceased a form of gainful employment? If I say yes, super doors are open. I can go to my fund provider and say, hey, I'd like to turn my accumulation super into a pension, please, and take out an income stream. Now, I said there, a form of gainful employment. So, another big misconception. Well, if I've got 2 jobs, do I have to quit both? No. You can have 2 jobs and maintain gainful employment, quit one of them, maintain full employment with another, and still be able to access your superannuation as a pension, because a form of gainful employment, not all employment. So the details really matter, and I guess this illustrates that you can't assume. So I've reached 60, a form of gainful employment is ended, and I go to my superannuation fund, whoever it may be, and I say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Super Fund, I'd like to start an income stream, please. Now, nothing changes in relation to your underlying investments. Another big one I get is, okay, so I cash out everything, do I? And then I use it for something. No, whatever you hold inside your super fund by way of investment stays exactly the same, unchanged. All we are doing effectively is we're taking off the accumulation hat where we're putting in money, and we're putting on a pension hat that says we'd like to take some money out. Now, there's a raft of paperwork that needs to be completed. So the fund's going to want to know that you have completed a declaration to say you've retired. You tick a box. They're going to then want to say, well, where do you want it paid? How much of your super do you want to start as a pension? Because you don't have to start the entire balance of your account, but it may be advantageous from a tax perspective to do so. They're then going to say, well, what do you want to get paid and when do you want to be paid? And another big misconception I get is, okay, well, how do I work out what I need on a fortnightly or monthly basis? And there seems to be a connection in the public forum that the word pension means fortnight. And I think to a large extent, it comes from the defined benefit schemes here in Canberra, where you take your pension, it gets paid every fortnight like a wage, and that is the only option that you have. The word pension does not mean fortnight. It just means we are commencing an income stream from our accumulated benefits. Take it weekly, take it fortnightly, take it monthly, take it annually, take it quarterly, take it semi-annually, take it however you want it. It doesn't matter. So if you're coming into 30 June now and say, right, I want a year's pension paid today, and I'd like a year's pension paid on the 1st of July, you could have 2 years of full pension paid in the space of 5 or 6 days. So use the pension structure to your advantage. Now, why would you start one? The key benefit of starting a pension once you've retired is to be able to fund your lifestyle. Now, that doesn't preclude you from going back to work. Because
It
as I s-
doesn't. It
no,
doesn't.
not at all.
Oh,
So
okay.
again, big misconception. I
Yes,
started
it
a
is.
pension, now I can't work. So we come back and say, am I eligible to start a pension? As I said, over 60, met a condition of release. I retired. Start your pension. Let's say we did that 1st of July. I retire on the 30th of June. I go to my fund on the 1st of July and I say, hey, I'd like 5% of my balance as a pension paid monthly.
You tell that to the super
Yep,
fund.
tell that to the fund and they say, great, fill out that form, and that starts. You give them your bank account and then they kick that out. Beautiful. If an employer then reached out to me on the 1st of August and said, hey, Lukey, fancy doing this? And I go, actually, you know what? That's pretty cool. I can go back and be fully employed. I can be partly employed. I can be a contractor. I can be employee. I can do whatever you want. Does not affect the tax-free income stream that's coming out of your super. Because on the day I made that declaration, I was not gainfully employed. What you do after that, that's up to you.
So you can go back to the workforce.
The next day.
Really?
Well, maybe 2 days. Get your pension started first.
yeah.
But that's right. So you can do that. And then I find a lot of people come and go, well, once I've started my pension, well, okay, then what? Then I'm done. Done from what? Well, I can't work again. Who? Who said that? Oh, well, the ladies at Mahjong said it. Well, don't worry about what they say. You know, it's about demystifying some of these assumptions to be able to then use that legislation to your advantage, which is very, very good because one, you need to fund your lifestyle. So we accumulate super, or we have rent, we have buildings, whatever it is asset-wise that you accumulate over your working life to then be able to live the way that you want to live. The big tax benefit of starting a pension is that the earnings inside the fund are tax-free. And the money that comes out to you is also tax-free. Now, why is that good? Because over your working life, the earning rate inside super is 15%. The tax rate is 0 in a pension. So you can start a pension, remove all of the tax. The next big advantage is you pay no capital gains tax on the sale of assets inside a pension. So let's say you bought CBA, Commonwealth Bank, at $60. And at $180 something today, you're going, wow, this is amazing. And I never sold my assets in super because I would have paid tax. Now you can go, oh, wow, look how much that's worth as part of my broader super. That's at record prices. This is the most expensive bank on the planet. Maybe it would be prudent to take a little bit of profit and just take those winnings off the table. You can sell Commonwealth Bank shares in your pension and pay absolutely no tax on the sale, which is much, much better than doing it in accumulation phase for super. So not just thinking about how do I fund my life, but also then thinking about, well, what are the tax benefits for actually commencing an income stream?
And look, would you recommend you take out the money that you actually would have earned from a job to fuel your lifestyle, or do you cut back a bit and say,
well, I think, again, it comes down to the individual. So if you retire and plan not to ever go back, you'd want to have thought about what you need prior to finishing. Hopefully you have. Or you could come into my office, sit down and go, Luke, we're just average people. We're not extravagant. And I take a big sigh and go, oh, I haven't heard that in 24 years. And have an idea of what you need. And I think it's important that you do, because I find the emotional connection between a wage and the ceasing of a wage, if you're not clear on what you need, it can influence the way that you spend your money.
That's right. Because
you haven't thought about the must-haves and then the discretionary stuff on the other side. So you generally take out what you need to live and then decide, okay, well,
and you can adjust it anyway, can't you?
Totally.
Yeah, there you go.
The important thing to keep in mind is that you must take a minimum percentage depending on your age. So from 55 to 65, you've got to take 4%. From 65 to 74, you've got to take at least 5%. Now, there's no maximum for an account-based pension, but you must take that minimum over the course of the year, depending on when you started it. If you started on the 1st of July, you've got the entire financial year. If you started a pension 3 months ago, then you need to take a prorated amount
up to the
of that minimum
year
for the percentage of the year that you've had an income stream. So
you've got to do it. You've got to do it. 6255 1206, Luke Smith from Envisage Financial. If you'd like to talk to him, ask a question. Pension. Do you want to start one? Why would I want to start a pension, Luke Smith? Why?
Well, I think, one, you're going to want to retire and have access to capital in the most tax-effective way possible. Because we need to remember that super is just a vehicle to hold assets. It just happens to be the most...
But if I touch it, I'm going to lose it.
Well, not necessarily.
Yeah.
I think, again, if we kept some round numbers as an example, if you had $1 million in super
Right.
and you took 5% or $50,000, if you looked at an average return of 7% over the longer term, which is very sustainable, if you're taking 50 and earning 70 from your investments, it doesn't actually go down. Because a lot of people come in and go, oh, but how long is it going to last, and what do I do? And, well, you're not going to do anything different to what you've done over your working life. It'll remain invested. It'll go up and down depending on what you've bought and your risk profile and what the broader economy is doing.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to say, okay, what do I need to take out? I need 5%. I need 6%. I need 7%. Say you needed 7.
But if you're working, you get super anyway, don't you?
Well, that's right. So if
that
you
goes
go back to
into
work,
yeah,
exactly. So if you go back to work, you might dial down what you need,
Yeah.
and then have some wages or work part time to get to a figure that you like.
Yeah.
But if you decide not to go back to the workforce for a bit, if you worked on 7% and said, okay, I've got $1 million for the sake of the example, I take out 70 and I earn 70, then your $1 million is going to go sideways forever, which is wonderful.
How does that affect your pension? I'm talking about the old age pension.
Oh, so from an old age pension.
Would that affect it if you're going to do that plan?
It would. So again, you start your account-based pension out of your super from 60, and then you're eligible for a Centrelink pension at 67. Now at 67, what they do is they sit down and say, okay, what have you got in relation to assessable assets? And that will be the balance of your account-based pension.
Right.
And then other assets that you may have in your own name, bank accounts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they'll make an assessment of how much of a full pension you're entitled to. So, for example, at the moment, the maximum asset test for Centrelink is about $1,050,000. So if you've got $1 million of assessable assets, you're $50,000 under the cap.
Yeah.
So you're going to get a very, very small amount. But let's say from 60 to 67, you've spent $500,000 having an amazing 5 years, right? Which you can do. Then you sit down to say to Centrelink, okay, I'm now 67. I've got $500,000 in my account-based pension. And let's say that's all you have by way of assessable asset. Then you're going to get roughly half of a full age pension for you and your spouse, which could see you get about $22,000, $23,000 from a Centrelink perspective. And then you could still be taking a $25,000 income stream out of your super to get you to $50,000-ish.
But it could be quite possible, couldn't it, Luke, that you start your pension at the age of 60 out of your super, and that drains and drains, and you pick up a bit of work here and there. You may never have to apply.
Correct.
To an old age pension.
And I think if you're realistic and you're sensible, I find that a lot of people keep the value of their assets. I was having a conversation with a guy yesterday. We started in 2011, and he's got more than he had when he started, and he's been taking a pension since that time. So again, it's debunking that myth that I'm going to run out. You'll run out if you're silly. You run out if you stay out of your lane. You'll run out if you copy your mates, especially if you don't know what your mates have. Yeah. So if you're sensible and you plan and you're informed and you invest and get growth in your super, I also argue that the older you get, people say, oh, well, I need to be more defensive. And I go, well, you don't like money? You don't want income? And they go, well, no, I want income and I need to offset inflation. So I'd argue that a certain level of risk is appropriate at any age to try and maintain the longevity of your capital and the purchasing power of what you have.
Well, Luke, I say if you've taken until the age 60 to come to your senses with your money and you've lost control of it till then, and it takes a pension and you realise that, oh, gee, I better look after my money now, well, maybe the horse has bolted stuff.
Well, it could be. So.
All right, where do you get the best information, Luke?
So office number 6260-4749. We've got envisionfinancial.com.au on the internet. We've got the podcast, The Strategy Stacker, Luke Talks Money on iTunes and Spotify. And we've got YouTube channel, Envision Financial Canberra. And all of these types of things are in Smart Money Strategy, your ultimate guide to financial planning, in all good, bad bookstores and online.
It makes the bad bookstores better. actually, if you got the book.
You didn't even know I'd written a book since I seen you
I
last,
did.
you?
I was told. They said, "Look out, he'll probably give you one too." And I said, "No, it's okay. I've got enough books in my shelf.
You're too well read.
Okay
Too well read.
And if you'd like to know more, go on to the best thing is your website, isn't it?
It is.
That's
Yeah. Visionfinancial.com.au.
Yeah, it's good to see you again.
You too. See you next week.
The budget of Canberra, I wanted to talk to you about that, but gee, they should come and see you. That's the best thing to do.
Someone needs to do something.
Someone's got to do something because it ain't good at the moment, is it?
It ain't good at all.
Yeah.